It's Pro Savings Days at Lowe's. Get up to 35% off select major appliances and save an additional $1,000 when you buy 4 select LG major appliances. Plus, get a free DeWalt 20-volt max 5 amp-hour battery when you buy a select DeWalt 20-volt max tool. Get the job done for less at Lowe's. We help. You save. Valid through 9/26. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See associate or Lowe's.com for more details and qualifying items.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/day to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/day for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. 1 discount per household.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bollywood Cinema Club, a show where we take a look at Indian cinema every other week. I am the host of the Culture Cast, Chris Stachiw, the show that this show spun off from. On this episode, I am joined by my good friend. She's all the way from Mondo, Heather. She's a pretty cool person, I think. I don't know. I think maybe some people might have some issues with her music taste, but I don't. You can hear her over on Noise Junkies. She's one of the co-hosts of that show, over on Weirding Way Media. You're a friend and mine, Heather Drain.
Thank you for having me. I've heard that I'm 2/3 cool.
What about 3/4 cool?
I try. That's the goal.
That's a step too far.
I have 1 cup of cool.
Hey, you know what? I think you're 2 cups of cool, frankly. So,
hell yeah. Thank you.
But you know what's 3 cups of cool? Our dear friend, Big B, Amitabh Bachchan, because, dear Lord, that man needs some clear eyes, folks. In this movie, it's a lot of close shots of his very red eye. We're going to be talking about 1990s cult classic Agneepath. So the film is directed by Mukul S. Anand. It is written by Santosh Saroj and Kader Khan, and it stars Amitabh Bachchan as, well, he's got a couple names, but we'll just call him Vijay Dinanath Chauhan, who is a man who is on the Agneepath, otherwise known as the Path of Fire, when his father is murdered by a town, and then they are excommunicated from said town. And wouldn't you know it, he comes back to try and take revenge on the people who wronged him and his family in the way that only Big B, Amitabh Bachchan, can. Along the way, he meets the most rhythmically gifted coconut vendor this side of New Delhi, and a whole lot of other fun things happen along the way. Heather, I'm going to kick it to you first. What did you think of Agneepath, 1990?
Oh, wow. This one, and a little like sort of sneak peek for the listeners into part of our process is, you know, when Chris is like, hey, what do we want to do next? And typically Chris will show me a trailer. So I can get kind of a flavor and see if that's like something for both of us. And the trailer for this was so epic, so gorgeous, like as far as cinematography. And I love Amitabh. But that was one of the things is I was like, I want to see more Amitabh. And because I'm still like the neophyte, you know, to this world in a lot of ways. And oh my God, the movie did not disappoint. This was such a treat. I loved it. I found it really fascinating. I think Amitabh is just like, there's a reason why they call him Big B. Like, this man is charisma and power solidified. Like, I and especially in this movie, like he is such a force of nature here. I really, really enjoyed it. I almost felt like it was like the universe rewarding us for Mahakal. Because the last film, Chris, that I talked about was Mahakal, and it's almost like the universe was like, "Hey guys, like you're a couple of good eggs. You survived the bad Nightmare on Elm Street film that had some decent things, but not great, not great. Here's Agneepath. Here's some love. Here's some sugar for you too." That's how I felt. But I don't know. What was like, how did it hit you?
It's, I will say, having seen several Amitabh movies at this point, Sholay, Diwar, Don, they're all movies that feel like this one. So I felt like I had seen this movie before, but not in a negative way. It's just, this feels very much in the same vein of the other kinds of movies that Amitabh was doing, especially in the 70s and 80s. Obviously, this is February of 1990 is when this comes out. So this movie is 23 years old at this point. Or no, 30? No, 23? No, more than that, right?
It's 30. Wow. Time is weird.
It's 33 years old at this point. So, taking that into consideration when this movie kind of came out versus, again, Amitabh's career still going. He was in Brahmastra as recently as last year. I mean, obviously in a much more kind of cameo, but supporting role. He's not the one in the movies as the main character anymore. He's a supporting actor, a legacy actor who is obviously a big deal when he's in your movie because, I mean, again, he pretty much shouldered the film industry for 20 years. I mean, he put a lot of Indian cinema on the map internationally, but also, I mean, he was the film industry for about 25 years in India. So all of that out of the way, to give you some context about kind of where this movie comes in, I think this movie's really good. I think it's really fun. I think it's an interesting entry into a body of work that, again, has similar notes to it. Because in Dawn, in Sholay, in Diwar, he plays these characters that are on the wrong side of the law in some way. In Diwar, he's the brother who's on the wrong side of the law when his other brother is the one who's the cop. In Sholay is the only film I would say out of the four that he plays a traditional hero. It's him and I forget who the other actor is because it was so long ago at this point. And the two of them are the leads, and they're kind of like the scoundrel ne'er-do-wells, but they're the heroes. And then in Dawn is the closer to this, but it's a little bit more, I think, lighthearted, a little bit more fun. This movie is pretty serious. I mean, it's fun. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here and saying like, oh, don't check this movie out. It's like Sardar Udham, which was, it had very little kind of fun moments or moments that you could be like, this was entertaining, less educational. I mean, this movie's fun. It's very serious, though. It takes itself very serious. Outside of the musical numbers that we get with Mithun Chakraborty, like, it's a pretty serious movie. So that kind of tonal shift into something a little bit more serious and feeling, I think, a little bit more late 80s, early 90s, I really enjoyed this movie. But it's very similar to other Amitabh films that I've seen, like a one guy in the crime world against the crime world.
Mm-hmm. Now, those other films that you've seen, did those come out after Agneepath? Before. Okay, so this is like already a precedent that was set when he was in this movie.
Yeah, like that, and that's kind of what I'm kind of driving at is this is very much like someone saw the other movies that he was in, obviously, and we're like, this is the kind of film that is perfect for an actor who has a overwhelming amount of intensity to their look, because that is the one thing Amitabh has, is an intensity to him that I'm not sure any actors really have. Like, I was racking my brain while I was watching this movie of what actor has the...
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/day to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/day for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
Are you a movie buff? Do you love dissecting and analyzing your favorite films? Look no further than the Projection Booth podcast. Join host Mike White and a bevy of guest experts as they explore the history, themes, and legacy of cult classics, obscure gems, and mainstream hits. Join us every week for a unique and engaging look at your favorite movies. So sit back, grab some popcorn, and tune in to the Projection Booth podcast. Available on all major podcast platforms.
Like that, when they show his eyes, is there a Western actor? And like, I don't even really think there are any. Not who are as big as Amitabh was and is for Indian cinema. There are character actors in the States that do.
Yeah.
But like, I wouldn't say that there are mainstream, main actors, the big time actors. I don't think they have this intensity that he does.
Oh God, no. I mean, you nailed it with character actors, because it's like, if I had, and he's his own man, like, so I almost don't even like comparing him.
Oh,
he
totally.
is Amitabh. He's 100% himself. But yeah, I mean, that quality makes me think of actors like Lee Van Cleef or like Timothy Carey, my beloved,
Right?
one of my art saints, Timothy Carey. And it's not just his face; he just, his physical presence has a gravitas. Like it's almost like not primal, but there's just like, you feel him when you see him in a movie. It's not just like, you don't feel like you're just watching an actor in a movie. You feel like his presence. Like that's and he's such a joy. And this movie was so breezy. This movie is legit just 6 minutes short of 3 hours. It is long, but you don't feel it. We've watched shorter movies that I was like more like looking at my watch a little bit. I'm not proud of that, but I'm human. Like, some things are going to be better than others, and some things are going to test your attention span a little more than others too. But with this one, no, it just kind of breezed by, and it is a heavy movie. But I feel like it hit all the beats that it went out to really well, that it strived for. What's interesting, it's almost sort of like a pastiche, or not even a pastiche, but it's almost like a tribute in parts to films like, I feel like the Godfather movies,
Scarface.
Yeah.
I mean, his look is Scarface adjacent, right? Like, that's what I kept thinking of, is that white suit. Like, the white suit was Scarface 100%.
A little bit of Michael Mann. He kind of looked like a character out of a Michael Mann.
Oh, yeah.
Thinking like almost like, or even like totally kind of some Michael Mann energy, which is never a bad thing. The fact that some of the music like samples, like some of the background score music samples Jean-Michel Jarre, kind of gives it, like, there's like a sax solo, so you kind of almost get that sort of like Michael Mann kind of feel, like that late 80s, mid 80s feel. But what's fascinating to me about this film is, even though like there are things, I mean, there's one scene in particular, later on in the film, where he confronts his wife about finding out she's pregnant. And it's legit, like, total, like, Kay and Michael from Godfather 2. But not totally. That's the thing. There's a twist. But even with that, this film to me never felt like it was ripping off anything or being sloppy. Like, everything is sort of woven in a way to make it very much its own story. In fact, if anything, I feel like it's almost like a biblical quality in a weird way to this story.
Well, it falls in line with a lot of other Indian cinema films that, I've seen and that you've been able to see as well, where they feel like Shakespearean in their like level of drama. I mean, there's a level of elevated drama here that feels very much like a John Woo film. Like a Better Tomorrow Part 1 and Part 2 had a lot of melancholy and drama, and like that melancholic feel is right here, where, someone gets shot and it's slow motion, or he's getting shot and it's like, I don't know how to describe it other than it just feels very elevated. It feels very intentionally elevated to the point where, like you said, it feels like it has a story-like quality to it, like a Shakespearean epic. Like the all the things that happen feel so fated and destined. Like he dies in his house that he was born in, type thing, which is actually what happens in this movie. Like that's the conclusion, is he dies in the village where he was born. And like, I don't know what's more kind of grandiose than that, other than tossing the villain into a literal fucking pyre in this movie. Like, it's so melancholic with the drama that you can't help but be engrossed in how just over the top the movie is, but still being, again, more or less grounded in reality. Again, like, I don't need it to be a fucking Bourne movie to feel like it's grounded in reality. Like, you can do this where it's like heightened reality, but you're still hewing close to the conventions that we still all have to play by. But there are things where a man is shot like 8 times and he just still keeps on going. Like, I don't know about that, but like it works in the context of what the movie's trying to do.
Oh my God. It's I love that stuff though. I think at one point, like, he survives having somebody throw a grenade from a helicopter onto a boat he's on. And then he comes out of the water. And my husband Chuck literally said to me, he's like, God, this guy's like fucking Jaws.
He just won't die. He just will not die.
Yeah, but it's not dumb. But the way it's done, it's not cheesy. You're just like, they somehow, and I mean, of course, a lot of it's Amitabh too. Like, he sells it like so easily. But yeah, I mean, it's funny to me with the story, because I was thinking about, like, because of course the Godfather series has a big sweeping epic story. And I think if you're a lover of film and writing, most of us love those movies. It's great. At least the first 2. I like the third one though. I'm not going to shit on that.
I think the third one's actually pretty fun.
I think it's underrated. I think Sofia Coppola is really the only real weak link in it.
I mean, to be fair, though, the weakest of weak, there are few films that have as weak a link as Sofia Coppola in them.
Oh no, 100%, 100%.
Yeah. She's a special kind of weak link in that movie. Hey, it's almost like that's your daughter.
Yeah. Nepo baby.
Nepo baby.
Yeah, but with, I don't know, but it's like with the Agneepath, to me, it almost felt like, when I say biblical, I don't mean like obviously necessarily to Judeo-Christian, but like spiritual. It's almost like, the whole thing of, his father is like in a lot of ways, like this pious schoolmaster is really trying to do good. And he helps this guy who's an alcoholic find redemption. But his father's flawed too. Like, but that's good. It's like, I like that. It's like, because nobody's going to be who's going to be 100% perfect or saintly in life. It's not reality. And, but basically, his father tries to help out a local prostitute, a local sex worker, and he's helping out the dregs of society. It's kind of like the whole, sort of, thing with like Christ, and, who did he hang out with? But what happened to him? He got crucified, and, Amitabh's father ends up getting stoned to death, which, I mean, what more biblical of a death? Other than being on a cross,
and for a biblical reason too, trying to teach a sex worker how to read.
Yeah. And it's always like, I always said that a lot of times people that try to do the best social changes, the ones that really do tend to be the ones that get like sort of assassinated. I mean, like, Martin Luther King, we could go on and on with this, but and so you're already going this heavy thing.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/day to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/day for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
Hello, filthy movie lovers. My name is Gentry Austin.
And I'm Casey Scott.
And we're the hosts of the Sin Syndicate, film podcast for something weirdos, anti-criterion bros, and Joseph Sarno aficionados. Join us semi-weekly as we peer into the adults-only theaters and sticky-floored cinemas of the golden age of sexploitation, when the morals were loose, the laws were murky, and the intercourse was all simulated. Find us now on the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
And the son being his little son being forced to carry his father's body, drag his father's body to the crematorium after his father bled on him while he's dying. Like, that's so messed up and so heavy. And it's just like automatically the worldview that we're getting is so like, this is how ugly humanity can be. And in some ways, I almost think it would pair well with El Topo. Everybody, when they talk about Jodorowsky's El Topo, they're talking about, oh, it's a psychedelic Western. And that's fair. But there's such a heavy heart to that movie about redemption and, and love, but also trying to survive in a world where just, corruption is as much of our nature as almost like our blood and our arteries too. So how do you make your way in this world? How do you be a better person? How do you keep clean when you're surrounded by people that refuse to grow or evolve either? And so you had kind of elements here in Agneepath with that, but also, even when even as a little kid, he turns out to be such a badass. This horrible, I guess the actor's Australian. We're not really given his nationality, but he's obviously like a Western. Like that big guy that giggles. What was with that giggle? Okay, that giggle is on my... I only have two complaints about this movie, and that giggle is one of them.
It was... you've got a villain in a late 80s, early 90s movie, so one of the easy ways to make him memorable is to give him a weird tick. That was the thinking, right?
I guess.
We've seen it in American movies, Western movies. It's just, it's annoying.
It's annoying in any movie.
Yeah, exactly. It would be annoying here. It would be annoying there. It would be annoying everywhere.
Yeah. But guy basically tries to rape, his poor mother, who's widowed, who's penniless, and his little badass tiny Vijay goes after him, beats the shit out of him as much as a 10-year-old can, and the police don't do anything. They're bought. And then he ends up setting fire to the guy's fucking gas station.
Yeah.
And I love it when he is confronted. That kid actor sells it. It's almost like his voice is deepening when he's saying it. He's like, I did it. It's so good. I'm like, oh man, that's great. And then he turns into Amitabh, looking just straight fire with that hair and that suit.
Well, what a great scene too, where it has someone pass in front of the camera. The cop passes in front of the camera and he's a kid. And then once he passes in front of the camera, then he's an adult. Oh man, that. That's
editing.
Oh my God. So the movie, the title comes from Harivansh Bachchan's poem, who is Amitabh's father, wrote a poem that the film is named for. And so I think it would probably be of benefit to read it here for everybody so we'll kind of understand, because I think the movie does a pretty good job of kind of giving a literal version of the poem in a lot of ways, if that makes sense. So even if there are mighty trees all around you, let them be shady, let them be huge, but even for the shade of a single leaf, beg not, beg never, ask never. The path of fire you shall tread, the path of fire, yes, that path of fire. You shall never tire, you shall never slow down, you shall never turn back. This oath you will take today, this oath you will fulfill in your life. Take this oath and walk the path of fire every single day. The oath of fire, yes, that path of fire. What great spectacle then to see such a man walk, who in tears, sweat, and blood is soaked, covered, and coated, and still walks on in the path of fire, walks the path of fire. Yes, that path of fire. So it says Agneepath a whole lot in the poem too. So there is that. But I think it's a pretty good kind of summation in a lot of ways of the movie and the message.
Yeah, well, and it's so beautifully integrated. And especially because the way like when you hear the poem, recited and you keep hearing that word over and over again, it's almost like a musical, like stammer almost. It almost reminds me of there's this really great French movie called Don't Deliver Us from Evil, which really has nothing to do with Agneepath, but at the end, the girls recite this Baudelaire poem. And the way that they recite it almost has that kind of cadence to it. And it's just like, it really catches your ear. And this is a great poem too. I mean, God, no wonder Amitabh's a badass. Like his dad was this great poet, and how beautiful like it is to. I mean, people can say they got to like not only be in a movie but have like their father's poem be tied to it.
Well, and I think you're right, because his dad, I mean, the stand-in for his real life father is his father in this movie. And I think it's interesting that they use that as kind of a framing device, because that's how the movie ends, is by essentially him reciting that poem again as he's sitting down to die. I don't know how else one would describe it. But I do think, again, like you said, it kind of really hammers home the message of this movie, which is, trying to find your way in the world, and to do it, you have to walk the treacherous path. I mean, that's kind of what this movie is about, is, like we've mentioned, Amitabh's character is, I don't think he's a villain per se.
No.
I think he's more of an anti-hero, more so than some of the other times I've seen him play this kind of character. But at the same time, again, like the reaction to him in the movie is interesting, because I don't feel like at any point in the movie he really is a villain, that the movie wants us to think that, or at least it wants us to think that other characters think that he is. And I have a hard time seeing that in the movie. That's like the one failing of the movie, is trying to really get me to get on board with the idea that his own family is so put off by who he is. He's an asshole, but he's an asshole for a reason. But I don't ever feel like anything he does is unjust. Maybe he was doing all these unjust things before the movie started, but like I don't see that. And that's kind of one of the biggest failing for the movie, is it doesn't land the kind of counterpoint to the main kind of conflict, which is how does his family kind of accept him, because that's the whole thing, is being accepted by his mother ultimately. And I don't feel like the movie does a good enough job in showing us why they wouldn't, because like you've mentioned, he seems like he's rather altruistic for the most part. Like he's not killing people that aren't deserving of it even, really.
Yeah, no, that was, I 100% agree, because that was the thing I kept being like, whenever, people act like ashamed or scandalized, like there's this whole thing where he goes to a restaurant and one couple like makes this big, like they want to be like seated somewhere else. And it's like, the fuck? It's like, especially because we see him doing really, really good things for his community. We see him using his power. And granted, I mean, obviously he ascended through like the underworld, through a crime syndicate situation to get there, but we never see him hurting innocent people. We never see him being malicious. We see him being, getting angry and being violent towards people that are inherently, overtly corrupt, that are definitely don't give a shit about other people. My favorite was he gives a speech about how, like, I don't want to see any child begging.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/day to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/day for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
For money, if you want to buy a palatial estate, fine. But, make sure that, nobody's homeless, basically. And just like do it like it's like, and my favorite is he says, if you don't do this, I'll kill you. And my heart swelled like so hard. I'm like, I will vote for you. I was like, maybe it's because I'm just so tired of like inherent corruption in our own country where people just don't care about others, and don't are helping, that I was like, Amitabh, yes. And he sells it. You love him. You can't, and he's the perfect anti-hero because even when he does things and says things where you're kind of like, dude, like, maybe don't do that. Don't slap your sister. Don't threaten to murder your wife because she questioned, she thought about having an abortion. But that's, it's like, but it makes him more human. And that's because otherwise you're just watching a Chuck Norris movie, and a Chuck Norris movie's fine, but you're not going to get like, if you're wanting something that's a great action film, but it has a heart, has a brain, has a heaviness to it that hits home in a way that feels authentic and real on a bigger picture level, then yeah, you want Amitabh, you want this movie.
We mentioned Scarface. There's another moment that is more or less ripped directly from Scarface. When the always fantastic Danny Denzongpa has one of his white lackeys push one of Amitabh's I guess antagonizers out of a helicopter, which made me think 100% was that F. Murray Abraham getting pushed out of a helicopter in Scarface.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I have to make a confession. I have not seen Scarface since I was like in high school. It's been a long time.
It's just okay, I
love De Palma, but I always tend to go more for older De Palma. Like, I'm like, if William Finley's in it, I'm watching that. I'm rewatching it. I'm going to own it. I'm going to keep watching it because it's William Finley.
That's fair. Well, it's definitely not.
Well, William Finley's not in Scarface, so,
Yeah. But there was another kind of moment where it's like just more, again, like more kind of tributes or callbacks to other movies of this kind. Because that is, I kind of mentioned it at the top here. This really feels like a late 80s, early 90s crime movie. Even if you take that it's an Indian film out of it, and if you were to watch, play this movie in the States for a Western audience, I think they would feel the same way. And the last time I watched a movie that was close tonally and visually to this one was Parinda, which had to have come out around the same time. But that one is more of, that actually came out in 89. That's more of Mumbai crime. This is not, I don't think they ever say specifically. I guess this is Mumbai. They're both in Mumbai, but it's like, I don't know, like they both feel like they're the same Mumbai, but Parinda felt a little bit, even with Parinda, which is a film that is even more kind of like dark and realistic than this one. There was, I don't remember if there was musical numbers. There had to have been, but this movie's a lighter tone, which is, again, like it is kind of strange that this movie does have a cutaway moments to something else where it's a pretty light in tone, because there is a love story going on in this movie, which I don't think is out of place. I think it actually totally works, but this movie has a little bit more of a, again, it feels like a cult movie, and the look of it feels very much like it's trying to be maybe more stylized than a Parinda, which is more kind of realistic or hewing closer to the actual way things are in the Mumbai underworld. This feels like an elevated version of it, which I think works here. And when you have someone like Amitabh, it's like, all right, so he's such a big personality that, now you get to hear the blast. Like you get to have this heightened realism and these kind of one-liners and stuff that aren't in a more serious movie. But I think this kind of still scratches that same itch of a Mumbai underworld movie done right.
Yeah, no, I could totally see that. And it's my favorite. I think it actually works best as far as like not feeling like kind of a tonal shift. And that's that one where he basically is with Danny Denzongpa, who's Concha China, at his like palatial, like pole interior estate. And there's this like song and dance about Alibaba. And there's like a weird, sinister, almost quality to that musical number for me. Not like overtly, but there's some line about don't trust, like you can't, something about enemies and not trusting your friends. Like the lyrics really actually play very well into just like this overall feeling of like, we know a twist and a double twist and a double cross and a triple cross are probably coming, but how is this going to play out? Like it's really, I thought that was so well done, because the other two, but musical numbers are definitely more of like, here's some lightness, because we have the love number and we have the coconut, like we have Krishnan's song about the coconut dance. And though I did have my favorite, I don't know how, if translations may range, but the one I watched on Prime was Don't Agitate Me. or if you agitate me. I just love this idea of threatening somebody. If you agitate me, I'll do my dance. Like, it's like,
hell yeah.
I love that. Like, if maybe the real world should be like that. Instead of people getting overly violent or trolling or whatever, just like have a dance off.
Did you notice? Did you notice Shakti Kapoor in that scene? The actor who looks strikingly like Amitabh down to the hair and getup that they gave.
Oh, okay. No, I seriously, for a second, are you talking about the singer in the Alibaba? No, I for a second thought that was him in a weird dual role. I'm like, is this gonna be his brother or something? And then it didn't really pay off, and I was like, oh, I guess not. He looked like Amitabh as a different character.
Yeah,
like straight up. Like, that was crazy.
He's a comedic Indian actor who is really like known for his comedic roles, but he, I guess, was playing himself in the movie, but he looked like Amitabh. Like, and he has the same hair as Amitabh even now, the kind of, the big kind of, I don't know what you would call it, like mullet. Like, majestic, perfectly coiffed hair.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would agree. I think that's the musical number. I mean, that and the one at the end of the movie where they're, talking about, Ganpati, and they're doing kind of the procession out to the water. Like, that works as well. But that works because it makes sense from a narrative storytelling perspective. I like that Alibaba song. The other two, I mean, the one where it's, I am the coconut vendor. Like, it's fine. I mean, it's fine.
It went on a little too long, don't you think?
Yes.
A little bit. I think at like 2 minutes, it would have been cute.
Right.
And it's like 5 minutes or something. It's like, okay, we need to wrap. We get it.
It didn't have a particularly catchy hook, which, I mean, again, look, not everything is going to be Rukja Diwani or a lot of other songs, but, I know that musical numbers, obviously, take it or leave it if they're going to be in movies now, but at the time, that's an expectation. And so they're in everything. And sometimes they work and sometimes they kind of fall a little flat. And I think in the case of most everything, but again, the last two, I think the musical numbers are just okay. I don't think they really are needed to tell the story any further.
Yeah, no, agreed. But I was thinking, because I feel like sometimes people get put off by wanting, like Westerners get put off maybe because of the whole musical thing with Indian cinema. But my question, I was thinking about this watching this, because I mean, some of the great like action films of the 80s that are Western have these amazing musical sequences. Now, it's not people miming that they're singing, but they're very music driven. Actually, going back to Michael Mann, Manhunter, and it's more horror, but like that has some great music driving it. To Live and Die in L.A., you've got that Wang Chung score. Like, even there's even like a really great use of a disco song in William Lustig's Maniac. That kind of that builds this sort of a similar atmosphere. And so it's the thing, it's like, I do encourage, well, I mean, obviously if you're listening to this podcast, you're not one of those little negative Nancys that are like, I do want to watch something from, you're not part of the problem if you're listening to us. But if you have friends who are like, just be like, well, do you like musical sequences in movies? Did you like all that AC/DC and Iron Man thing? Come on. What's your problem? Give it a chance. That's my TED Talk. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming.
Well, and they don't always work. Like, and they just don't. Like, they don't always work. Just like, not every action scene in a Marvel movie works.
Yeah, agreed. But that Alibaba sequence, that's actually, I think it's the best song, but I also just think that was my favorite as far as just like, it felt like the way that was edited. And I was like, wow, this film only had one editor, because the editing in this film, I mean, everything, even from a technical standpoint in this film, is super high caliber. Like, it's shot beautifully. The composition's great. Like, so much care went into this movie with everything. It's a great film just to look at. Even just to watch it, if you took the plot and all that aside, it looks great. I thought that dude, though, I'm so glad you said that. I forgot about that. I was like, is that Amitabh? It was this guy. And I love that he's got like great, like used car dealer energy.
And again, like, it's for Western audiences, it's not going to make sense. It's not going to be explained as to who that actor is. So it's just, because I had to look it up. I was like, all right, what's going on here? Like, because again, I wasn't necessarily super aware as to what Shakti Kapoor's thing is. So yeah, he's a comedian. So I mean, it makes sense.
Man, see, I would love and we have we're in such a great era right now of boutique labels in the West releasing these really great editions of films that are pretty obscure to a lot of us as film people. And I would I don't know if it could be Mondo Macabro, just somebody take some of these Indian films and give them the extras. And because that's the thing, we could make it super educational. And in fact, if anybody has ties to a label, if you're listening to this, I know the perfect guy to do commentary. And he hosts the show. So fucking book Chris Stachiw, please. See, I said please.
See, you said,
I'm nice.
Look,
I'm a lady.
I mean, that's the thing. I'm actually surprised that a certain filmmaker in this United States of America hasn't talked about how much he loves this movie. This is the kind of movie that would totally resonate with that kind of audience and that kind of filmmaker. I won't say who, but if you know, you know. If you know, you know.
He has something in common with the character of Scarface. Cocaine. No, I'm joking. Allegedly.
Allegedly. But yeah, you're totally right. This is the kind of movie that if Western audiences had been able to see it in the 90s, it might have helped spark interest in Indian cinema the way the 90s was kind of a hotbed for Hong Kong cinema interest in this country with Chow Yun and Jackie and all of those Hong Kong action movies. Then you have a Indian crime film. That would have been something interesting to take with you to a VHS hangout where everybody brings something weird that they've never heard of and they're all watching stuff and who knows. I'm sure people in college were doing that. Mike White and his pals were doing it. I'm sure everybody who was into movies in the 90s was trading tapes around and trying to find the weirdest, craziest, hey, have you seen this? No, I haven't. This is exactly that kind of movie. There are some holy shit moments in this film, like the climax where fucking Amitabh just walks through fire. And again,
oh my God.
However they shot it, it looked as convincing as possible.
It was, before I even get to that, no, I'm so glad you brought that up about the timeline, though, because the 80s and 90s were really kind of this weird sort of golden era for people in what we call flyover states for your wrestling fans. But people in the Midwest or the South that, or just small towns that don't have access to an art house theater back then, all of a sudden could access foreign cinema through their video store and through cable. Cinemax had they would have a night that they called Vanguard Cinema. And a lot of times they would use that to show, more often than not, a foreign movie. That's how I as a little kid, saw my first Almodovar movie, was thanks to Cinemax. And it's well, why wasn't Indian cinema tapped into as huge of a market, as an industry that India has had and has? It's weird to me that it wasn't, and I don't know why. I'll be the first to admit that I'm not, super educated enough to even take a guess at this point, just to keep it real. I don't know if maybe there was a perception because India, I think sometimes just people just are oh, it's a third world country. And, let's face it, a lot of people in our culture are very classist.
Right.
And a lot of film critics are very classist, especially back then. I mean, that's also why you would see if something was made by, I don't even want to use an example and be too snobby, but basically, if something plays like a grindhouse, it's automatically never going to be regarded as a good film because it's not made for much money and it's made for a working class audience. I mean, you get where I'm going with this. So I don't know if it's a classist thing in some weird fucked up way or what, but it's that would have been such a great thing to have, though. You imagine getting to turn on turn on TV and be hey, I wonder what's on cable. And this film just is on and you just happen to turn it on and have your socks blown off. What a thought. But thank God for the internet. And, Chris and I were able to watch this via streaming via Prime. I watched it on Prime. You started on Prime and then had to switch to Netflix because now the film is off both platforms.
The day we're recording. No shit.
Thanks, jerk. So I as Chris, and because Chris alerted me to that, I knew it was going off Prime. I didn't realize with the Netflix. So if you guys want to see this, tag them. To quote Bobby Fleischman from Spinal Tap, money talks, bullshit walks. So tag people, be I pay for this service. Let's have, could we get this back? Why is this not, why is it not on there?
It's taking up too much space for all those Office.
Yes, come
episodes.
on, read it to filth.
I just want to watch The Office for the 12th time.
Oh my God. Seriously, people binge watch the same sitcoms over and over again. That 3 hours, you could be watching something new. And I'm not judging. If you're having a rough day, anxiety, we all have comfort food. So I'm not coming to a place of judgment with some of this shit because Raising Hope got me through a really bad, depressing period. So, no judgment. And that's
wow.
Raising Hope's good. It's good. Come on.
Hey, sure. I'll agree with you because
it's better than The Office.
That's not hard. That's like saying, oh, this dog turd's better than a cat turd. It's like
that's right. We're like Hot Take McGee tonight.
I mean, but not really. I mean, look, I know people my age like The Office, but I'm not one of them. Just like you know that there are people your age that like Friends. You're not one of them.
Ew.
But see what I mean? It's that same thing. It's like I'm not one of them.
I'm like, ew. Yeah. I know you're right. I mean,
but still.
I mean, imagine if we lived in a world where, like, if we went to Walmart and we see pajamas that have Amitabh on them and not like the Friends logo. Would that be awesome?
Him just covered in blood in his white now red suit.
I would buy the living crap out of that instead of Friends.
I really love his white suit in this movie.
Oh my God. And I love a character that can pull off a white suit. I have a theory. It takes a certain gravitas, a certain person of action to pull off a proper white suit. Like you got like Christopher Lee could pull it off. Murray Head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Murray Head when he does One Night in Bangkok pulls it off. Pete Shelley, who's a really great pioneering punk electronic musician. Everybody seek out. Who's no longer with us. We love you, Pete. Pulled it off.
David Byrne.
A giant chunky suit. Pulled it off. Amitabh pulls that off like it's a second layer of skin. He looks that amazing in it. He looks just the visual of him. It's not just that like he's a handsome guy. It's like it's just part of this it's filmmaking. Like that's the thing I love about this film. It's like every element has like this like writhing little ligament of passion going into it. Like everybody that did everything on this film, you could tell cared.
Well, and you'll notice that there's a scene where he's not wearing white anymore and he's wearing a black suit. And that's during the Alibaba song, which I found to be a nice little touch, a nice little callback, because he's trying to convince the villain of the piece that he is also a villain. And I thought it was a little cute production design to have him dress in black in that scene. So
yeah, no, that's the thing. Like, there's all these great touches that just make this film so special. I'm so glad. Like, I'm so glad you picked this. Like, I really. Like, this is, I don't think I've enjoyed everything we've watched save Mahakal.
Fair and valid.
But though it's far from the worst film I've ever talked about on any podcast. But I've seen worse. I've talked about worse, but Mahakal was not good. But this is like, I really feel like this film is just like, if you love these big sweeping stories, please like seek it out. It's it's such a reward. And unlike it's like we mentioned Tarantino we didn't. Oops, I'm sorry. Adjacent. Yeah. And I don't say this like objectively. Like, dude obviously knows a lot about film, is passionate, and I always respect that. I've enjoyed some of his past movies. I haven't watched the last several, to be honest. So who knows? I don't have an opinion because I haven't seen it. My problem though with some of his movies, even the ones I like, sometimes like the homages are so like there. It's like, and it kind of takes you out. Like if you get the reference, you're taken out of it a little bit. And that's such a hard thing to do, like a collage kind of homage where, it's seamless. But Agneepath, I feel like actually does it. Even when you're like, oh God, like, yeah, I know that's in Scarface or Godfather 2. It's still done and twisted in such a way that it doesn't feel just like somebody just, like just cut it out with kid crayon scissors or whatever and just roughly glued it on. Like there's some love going on. And there's also like keeping faithful to like the characters, and I don't know. It doesn't feel like a ripoff, if that makes sense.
Well, and I think it also helps that you have someone like Danny Denzongpa as the villain who feels like a force of nature, but also has that oiliness to him that works in a crime movie. I've only seen him in one other guess I've seen him in two things. He was in China Gate, where he played a heroic character in a band of kind of disgraced military guys who go to protect a village from, wouldn't you know, marauders. And then he plays the villain in the first Robo movie. He's the villain in Entheron, and he's sufficiently mustache twirling in that movie. But in this movie, they just let him go full.
Oh, he's full oil. Like,
yeah, he reminds me a lot of Robert Loggia in Scarface. Like, and I think that's where they were kind of going with his character, is kind of that kind of like, I don't know, like entrenched boss who knows no other way and wants to make sure that you do not upset the balance. I think they do a good job of showing that, but he is a suitable foil for Amitabh, because you really needed someone who could stand up to the kind of, I don't know, ferocity of the role that, because Amitabh, whenever he's on screen, is just a house of fire in every scene. Every scene.
He's like the element of fire. Like, he really is just like, I mean, this is I think it's like one of the best performances I've seen in a long time. You know, like, this really just like, he brings it. And I was just like, gosh, like, this would like, I'm trying to think, and there were like good Western films that came out this year, but this is also the same year that gave us like Dances with Wolves. Like, think about it. We could have been watching this in the theater instead of Dances with Wolves.
Well, I mean, I think that this is a better movie than something like a Scarface, that this movie is so heavily inspired by, at least somewhat visually, and some plot points that they kind of cop from that movie. But I think this is a better movie. I think it's a better put together movie. I think it's a much more interesting movie. I think that there are some twists in the movie that, whether they caught me off guard or anything, but I think that they work in the favor of the movie to kind of further give the story a direction to go, as opposed to the expected way. It kind of takes a little detour at the end. And I mean, again, I think the movie's ending kind of was inevitable in a way, but we get another, 20 minutes of movie where we have people showing up, then taking his family hostage. And like, there are some stakes, but every time Amitabh is given something to do, he brings it. He brings it in the scene where he's begging the doctor to save Krishnan's life. He brings it in the scene where he's having dinner at his house, his mother's house. And she, says, clean your hands. You can't, your hands will never be clean. Like, he brings it so often that by the time the movie's over, it's like, I'm exhausted by the amount of, just, again, like, energy that he brings in a way that is so ferocious. I mean, I was joking about his eyes at the beginning of the podcast, but I will say it again, like, they cut to his eyes so many times and they're like fucking bloodshot throughout the entire.
Yeah. And it feels like a consciousness. It doesn't just feel like, no, he was having some like hay fever.
No, Amitabh doesn't look like that normally, but they were like, let's make him look like a man possessed, because that's honestly like what he looks like. It's a man on a mission in a way that, don't get in his way, because if you're in his way, I wouldn't want to be in his way. Just put it that way.
No, that's what is it? He keeps threatening people like, I'll hack you to pieces.
Yeah, it's like, fuck, man. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, like, damn. Like, that's, oh my gosh. Yeah, he is amazing. And my one real complaint, though, and it's minor, because this film is so good. We have the character that is kind of his love interest. And, well, yes, she is, because he marries her, like Mary Matthew. But to me, she almost just felt like she was just kind of there.
You mentioned Diane Keaton from The Godfather, and I think it's an apt comparison in terms of that scene, but in terms of what she's given to do in this movie, completely underserved.
Yeah, which is, which sucks for the actress, Madhavi.
She's a South Indian. She's a very well-known South Indian actress. So I don't know like why they kind of, I mean, I know why they sidelined her character, because again, this is Amitabh's movie, but I think honestly, the kind of subplot of him having a son and a family, like, it feels a little unnecessary, because they don't go as far with that as they should have. And they don't bring it all the way back the way that they could have with that storyline. That kind of feels a little bit forgotten by the end of the film. By the final climax of the movie, the fact that he has a wife and son kind of get forgotten a little.
Yeah. Well, and you don't really get any real sense of like, why would she, because you do get, and God, that scene where he goes to her and he just feels like he's been forsaken by the world. Like it moves you, like he brings it. But it's like, but you're also wondering, like, well, why would she say yes?
Right.
You know, like, there's not really, like, I don't know. I wasn't necessarily buying that, but I also say that with a caveat. Did it take me out of the movie? No. Did it hurt the movie? Absolutely not. Could it have been excised? Probably. But, you know, I mean, how many things in life are 100%? Like, this film's like a 97. You know, it's good. It's really, really good.
Yeah, she definitely, and you know, we've talked about this in other Indian cinema films where the female characters kind of get not sidelined, but they're not the focus of the piece. You know, like similarly to Western cinema, like for the longest time, female actors were given the damsel in distress role, and that's it. And it's a shame here. It's a shame there because again, like it just doesn't add anything to the overall narrative. And there were opportunities to have it have some kind of circular meaning because, you know, by the end of the movie, he has a son that watches him die. And like, you could have gone there and they didn't, and that's fine. But they set it up in a way where it kind of felt like they should have or could have, or maybe in the remake, they do that. The remake from a couple years ago, not the South Indian remake. I feel like maybe, like, again, that was maybe that's something they excised from that version. I'd be interested to watch that version, but at the same time, like, I wanted to see this without anything else so that is not informing our feelings on this movie.
Absolutely.
So, but
Yeah,
like that, I think the female, I think honestly, all the female characters in this movie, other than his mom and sister, are not needed. And it's really just comes down to then his wife, because she's the only other female character, really.
Yeah. Other than that, there's like a real small one that ends up being kind of a pawn.
Right.
But
pawn to the point of getting murdered in a very Godfather 1-esque scene.
Oh, 100%. The only thing missing was Joe Spinell. Oh,
right.
Oh man, my heart just grew. I'm like, oh, I'm in a happy place again, just thinking about Joe Spinell. But yeah. So, but again, like I said, it's definitely not a deal breaker for sure. No. I mean, it would have been nice, but also it probably would have, in fairness, made this movie even longer.
Well, that's the thing. You know, when I mentioned it's kind of like if you had taken some of that out of the movie, that's like a half an hour. And then you've got like a 2.5 hour movie as opposed to a 3 hour movie, because there's no musical number between Amitabh and Madhavi, but there is a large portion of the second act of the movie that's devoted to their relationship. But again, like, we really don't even get a very good sense of what their relationship is or why she would be with him, because again, like you mentioned, there is a scene where she threatens to abort the baby and then like nothing comes of it. It's like, if you do that, I'll kill you. And she's like, okay.
And she hugs him.
That's very strange. The scene is not handled as well as it's handled in The Godfather. That's for sure.
Yeah. That was a little bit like, I don't know about that.
What's the message here? Like, I must be missing it.
Yeah. But holy shit. This movie, like, there's this one shot in particular I love, and it's so simple, but it's like Amitabh in that white suit when he's on the boat, and the boat's on the water, and it's just like him and, you know, his amazing black hair and that blue sky and that blue water and that white suit. I mean, it looks like something out of an art book, like a photography, like a coffee table book. It's like just so striking and just visually kind of perfect.
Well, contrast that with a scene about maybe 5 minutes later where he's standing on the beach talking to Danny Denzongpa with no jacket on, and the wind catches the shirt just right and it puffs his shirt up completely. Which I was surprised they left the shot in the movie because he looks hilarious. All of a sudden his shirt's just like inflated like one of those Halloween costumes, and he looks like a Baymax costume for a second. It's pretty great. Again, you can't make a man like Amitabh look any less badass. He has a look to him even now when you see him in things. Because again, we saw him in Thugs of Hindostan.
Oh God, and
he's a badass there. Like,
he was like a silver lion in Thugs, and here he's just like full on, just like young lion. Like, just so, which actually I say that, how old, like, because he's like in his 80s now.
Yeah, so he was born in 42, so he would have been like in his 50s.
Holy shit, man.
Is that right? So he was born in 42, so...
I mean, math is hard for me, but yeah.
He was 38 when this movie came out.
Okay, that makes sense. I was like, right? 50? Well,
yeah,
wait.
38.
Yeah. Okay,
right?
Well, that's age appropriate, because the character, I think he says something about him being in his 30s, but...
Do you understand now why Francois Truffaut called Amitabh a one-man film industry? Do you understand now from this movie?
100%. I mean, I got the seedling when we saw Thugs of Hindostan, because even though that's a supporting role, he makes an impression in that. But then this, it was like, oh my God, can I just see everything he's in now? Because I am hooked. I am super hooked. So, now it's not just Amir Khan. It's Ami.
I know he is one of those actors who, when I saw Sholay so many years ago, I was like, my God, how have I never seen anything that this guy has been in? And that was Sholay, and then Diwar, and now this, and, Thugs of Hindostan, and he was also in Brahmastra. And it's just, you understand when you watch these movies where he's the lead, where it's like, Jesus Christ, this man is just, it's a natural. It's not even acting. Like, this is just who he is. He has this, it feels like he has this intensity all the time. And mind you, he's also in, things that aren't action movies. He's in things like K3G, where he's playing Shah Rukh Khan's father. And he's the disappointed father who is, a rich Indian man who doesn't like seeing his family part with traditions. And that's a character that he can also play very convincingly. So he's able to really kind of embody and kind of a expectation for Indian masculinity for like 20 to 30 years even. That's the expectation, is that's Amitabh. That's Indian masculinity made flesh on screen, is this guy kicking ass, taking names, and then running through fire and taking more bullets than a human being can take while doing it.
Oh my God. Giving us one of my favorite lines now ever in film history. Why are you crying? I took 4 bullets and I didn't shed one tear. That's the most manly thing I think I have ever heard. Like, man o' war, wish they would have written that line. That is how manly.
The fact that every time he kills one of his aggressors and he drops a bullet that was in his body from them, doesn't even need to say anything. Just drop a bullet and go. Oh my God. I was like almost howling at the moon when he confronts the first 2. The double cross, and he said something about, as your faithful servant, I always told you I would return anything to you that is rightfully yours. And then he kills them with those bullets. Damn. He's a bastard in this movie. I love it.
It's such a badass, more like it.
Yeah.
It's like the man.
He's great.
Other than and slapping his sister. Don't slap women.
Oh yeah. He slaps the shit. I didn't understand that either. Like, his apprehension to him and her. Like, Mithun Chakraborty's character is so, again, he's so written as such a nice guy. There's not any. He's about as unsubtle as Amitabh is in his portrayal of the character, right? Like, he's just this big personality the moment he's on screen.
Well, also, did you get the feeling that he was almost like, because I was like, when he set him up as her bodyguard, I'm like, oh, this is sweet, because you see this guy has a good heart. And even at one point said something about like she was born in the wrong era. He has like the old values or something like that. And so when he's like, he has her or has him be her bodyguard, I'm like, oh, he's trying to maybe do a little matchy match because he's a good guy and he wants to see his sister with a good guy. So then when he got pissed about them holding hands, it was like, what?
Yeah.
I thought you were cool with this.
I did not understand that either. That was another thing that, again, like, there are parts of this movie that the movie just feels like it included it because it needed to, not because it wanted to. And that conflict didn't make any sense, because by the end of the movie, Amitabh gives his life for his family. So and one of those people being Krishnan. So like, it was just, I don't know. Again, some of the relationship stuff kind of goes in an odd direction that needed to maybe be changed or excised. But yeah, this is a movie that it's kind of a shame that it's off Netflix and Prime Video now, because this was a lot of fun. And yeah, for it being 3 hours, it moves along at a pretty great pace, frankly.
Oh, breezy. I've seen movies that were 90 minutes that moved slower. And they felt like they were 3 hours. So
totally.
So yeah, no, this was seriously Netflix, Amazon. Come on, get it together.
So final thoughts on Agneepath, Heather?
Well, obviously I hated it. No, I'm joking.
Right. Worst movie I've seen in a very long time.
It's terrible. Now, man, I think this was damn close to a masterpiece. I thoroughly enjoyed this so much. It's sumptuous. It's heavy. It hits the heart. It hits the eyes. Amitabh is the man. I will watch anything with him in it. When people say, "Oh, we don't have stars anymore," they clearly aren't watching Indian cinema. Because we do have stars. They're in India. Watch them and watch Amitabh. So no, I feel honored that I got to talk about this film with you and that I got to watch it. So thank you.
I'm with you. You know, I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I'm glad that, you know, again, like this feels like the not the quintessential Amitabh film, but it feels like a film that is a perfect showcase for the expectations of what you've heard about if you've heard about Amitabh, which is angry young man cinema of the 80s and 90s in Indian cinema. And here it is, like in full force. This character, this performance is you know, it's the reason that, I mean, it's not the reason he's known for the things he's known for, but it's one more entry into a column, a very long list of kinds of roles that Amitabh would be known for. I mean, he was nominated and won his first National Film Award for Best Actor for this movie, even though this movie was effectively a box office bomb financially. But again, it's been reappraised more in the last, 10, 15 years. There was a remake in 2012. So, I mean, again, and it's produced by Yash Johar, and Karan Johar is, if you watch The Romantics on Netflix, which you totally should, he shows up about as much as everybody else actor-wise to talk about Indian cinema. So it makes sense that this movie gets remade and becomes something else, which hopefully would have had more people watching this movie. It's just a shame now that this movie is not really as available as it used to be. So hopefully when this episode comes out, that won't be the case. But until then, we'll let you know where you can find it, because you can't find it where we found it. So until the next time you and I talk, Heather, where can people find you when you're not being deplatformed by Netflix and Amazon Prime?
And boy, howdy, if I had a nickel, let me tell you.
Right? For every time. I would still have no money.
I would have 0 nickels. No, you can find me over at my website, mondoheather.com, as well at Twitter and Instagram under at mondoheather, and I have a Patreon. And it's at Mondo Heather. So please check all of these out and reach out and touch the star.
As for me, weirdingwaymedia.com. That's where you can go for me. That's it. That's all. Go to Chris's
Patreon too.
You could do that. I mean, please. Again, please. Yeah, I don't want to beg for money. So
Chris puts so much sweat equity into all of his shows. So support him. What else are you spending money on? Huh? You gotta go pay for the
yourself. Pay for the office.
You pay
$5 a month on Peacock could be better served elsewhere.
Exactly. But if you can't, please subscribe. Wait, this isn't YouTube.
Yeah. Rate, and review wherever you can get the show, because hey, more people should be watching Indian cinema for real.
Absolutely. Share, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your babies, tell everybody.
And as always, we'll catch you on the next episode. Here we go.